Welcome back to another episode of Picking Up the Pixels RPG Love. I'm your host, Boston. Joining me, as always, is Musum.
Hello.
And we're on vacation currently. It's December. We're off. We're off the podcast farm, out of the salt mines, taking a break here. But that means it's a perfect time for us to talk about the RPGs we played in 2023. We're just going to go through. This doesn't necessarily mean games that released this year, because I have a couple that came out a couple of years ago. But all the kind of stuff we talked about this year, revisiting it, wrapping stuff up, talking about stuff we maybe played half of and then kind of forgot to get back to or didn't get back to for some reason. We're just going to go down through this list. We're going to sort of alternate here between Musum and I. Musum, why don't we start with your first game on your list?
So for the first game, it's going to be a game club game. It's going to
Ooh.
be Werewolf: The Apocalypse, Heart of the Forest. Um,
Oh, yeah, I forgot to put that on my list.
like, like not only did I really enjoyed playing it, even though it kind of ends sooner than I would have liked. It would have liked it to stretch out a bit more. But what was even more fun was seeing how wildly divergent Moon and Boston's playthroughs were from mine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just the amount of different things. I keep meaning to go back and play it. I think I want to wait long enough so that I've forgotten enough of it that I can do something completely different.
Right.
Uh, but you know, it has its faults. I feel like all these World of Darkness visual novels could use better control schemes. But
Yes.
um, I love the art style in this one. I think the limited sound that was there was pretty good, and I really enjoyed the story elements and choices and such. So I don't know that there's a ton to say about it, but if you have an extra $10 or $15 and want to play through a I don't know, what was that, like 6 hour game, something
At
like that.
most, yeah.
Yeah, like I think it's worth your time, and you'll get replayability out of it too, uh, assuming you go back and play it again.
Yeah, I also really enjoyed that. I just looked up its Game Club episode 108 over on tvgp.tv. So you can listen to kind of our further spoilery thoughts on that. But yeah, I really liked it. I think there was an element of that I really wanted the Coteries of New York to be like, where you're making a character and you have a character sheet and you kind of have a you're playing more of an RPG than Coteries of New York, and I thought it was cool. Had good writing, had a cool idea, and I agree with you. The idea that all three of our playthroughs were so drastically different is really really fun.
And they tied real world issues into it that I was not aware of, at least.
Mm, true.
Like I remember looking up in an interview where they were kind of talking about that. But it's been too long now. I'll apologize right now. I did not research everything as much as I should have
Oh no, yeah,
before this podcast started.
no, ditto. Yeah.
Uh, but anyway, so you're up.
My first game here is Chained Echoes, which came out really, I think, either very late last year or really early this year. The kind of 16-bit Chrono Trigger homage, made by a very small team. I really really liked this game. One of the things I liked the most here was definitely that overdrive bar that is kind of, you're pushing and pulling with buffs and debuffs and attacks kind of back and forth, which I think was a really cool idea. I really like the story in this, far far better than I was expecting it to be. I really like the battle system. I never finished this because I got really burnt out on the so probably about halfway through the game they add mech units to it, and it has an entirely different battle system to it, an entirely different like overworld and map movement stuff to it. And to me, that kind of, it was almost too much of a good thing. Like, it was kind of watering down what I thought Chained Echoes was doing really well, which is the person to person combat. And it was done really well, but there's something about it that really just kind of sunk it for me, unfortunately. And I keep meaning to get back to it, but I unfortunately haven't yet. So, but Chain Echoes is cool. I recommend it. And I think it might click with more people in general than it did with me.
I liked that one too, and did the exact same thing where I got the mech, and I'm like, I don't know about this.
Yeah, it's a cool idea, and it's a system that I really like. I think the on foot stuff is just so strong and so good that playing the mech stuff is good too. But I'm like, yeah, but I could be doing this like cool Chrono Trigger thing over here that I might want to rather be doing. So, um,
I, this may be one of those games I just flip on easy and go and finish it out.
yeah,
Like,
maybe because
I don't
I
think I've played
really
it
like
in
the
a half
story.
year.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm really curious how it all shakes out.
yeah, yeah. So that's Chained Echoes. What's your next one on your list?
This one is Vampire Survivors, um,
Yeah.
which I've been consciously trying not to play lately because I know it's just going to take over all my time. Um, the man, all the DLC they've done for this game is great. I've been afraid of whatever the latest patch is, where they add multiplayer in it, and they're starting to add, forgot a story or levels or something. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, I mean, they knocked this game out of the park. It's a great way to spend a half hour or hour if you turn on all the unlocks to make it kind of go infinite.
Right.
Uh, and I'm curious how the new engine does with it too. But all the new weapons, like I keep thinking, well, they just made this weapon that makes the game way too easy. There's no way they're going to make a better weapon, and then they do. Um,
Yeah,
so
I like Vampire Survivors so much that I started over on PC because it's not out on PlayStation platforms yet. And I thought, well, I want to play some Vampire Survivors, but I have everything unlocked on Xbox, so I'll buy it on Steam with all the DLC for like whatever it is, $7, and started grinding on that with the included Whiteout DLC that came out later. Well, I guess it's like a free update. Um, but yeah, man, this game is really really great. One of the two Bullet Heaven games I played a lot of this year, and if you haven't played Vampire Survivors, you should. It's just astoundingly, really, incredibly great.
you know, I feel like even people looking at the screen and doubting it, like it is so much more fun than you could ever imagine it will be.
Hmm.
Like, and it's got a really wonderful sense of humor about it too.
It really
That
does,
helps.
yeah.
But anyway, not a whole ton to say about that, but it's like Boston said, man, this game is costing nothing. Go get it.
Hmm. Yeah, my next one is actually I'll build off of Vampire Survivors here with Spirit Hunters Infinite Horde. This is another Bullet Heaven that we played on We Rogue Like It. Moon and I played that. You can catch that over on tvgp.tv as well. This is another Bullet Heaven, but it has the upgrade system of almost like the sphere grid from Final Fantasy X in it. So you're gaining currency in a run, and then you're kind of unlocking nodes in this interconnected web that you're unlocking a bunch of stuff in. And it's not just new skills and characters and levels and stuff, but it's also powering up your existing skills or earning modifiers or things like that. If you're watching the video version, you can see the upgrade web on screen right now. And it's really neat because, for example, it controls exactly like Vampire Survivors. So from a gameplay perspective, it's pretty much the same. But like, there's this lightning skill you can do, which does kind of a lightning area around you, and one of the upgrades is chain lightning. So you upgrade it in a run enough, it'll do chain lightning. The other upgrade is you can set down little lightning turrets behind you. But what kind of broke the game open for me is once you earn both of those mods, and this is the same for every skill, you can combine both of those. So you're leaving behind turrets that do chain lightning. So all of a sudden, you're doing a ton of damage in a huge area to a bunch of enemies that's bouncing 3 or 4 times. It's really, really great. There's a ton of characters. There's a ton of levels. Game is really clear about what you need to earn or what you need to do to upgrade any of this stuff. A ton of difficulty options, and each character you can choose your starting weapon, and then it will modify that weapon when you start with it per character. It just kind of keeps unfolding as you play it and having more and more and more and more options. And each individual run is only 15 minutes. So it's kind of an even shorter, more focused experience than Vampire Survivors is. But that whole run is really, really focused. And you get easily as strong as you do in Vampire Survivors. So that's Spear Hunters Infinite Horde. We had a blast playing it for the month we played it on We Roguelike It. I've been playing it pretty consistently since then as well, so it wasn't just one of those things where like, well, a month's over, let's dump this thing. And then we roped Nimp over on TVGP into playing it as well. So like pretty much everybody has grabbed this and had a bunch of fun with it. So I highly recommend it. It's definitely an outstanding, pleasant surprise game from 2023. So check out Spirit Hunters Infinite Horde. What's your next one?
Next, I will briefly talk about Baldur's Gate 3.
Ooh, yeah.
Because I briefly spent time with it. I feel bad almost even talking about it because I just, I never got out of the first area and I need to go back into it, which I think I'm probably going to do that in December. But it's, in terms of someone setting out to create a game where you can interact with a ridiculous amount of things and environments, and like you can change the path through whatever story quest you're in through like really weird, crazy methods. Like I'm gonna move this thing over here, or gosh, I'm not gonna think of any good examples now. But and it, you want to save scum in this game.
Yes.
Like your talking character is the one who gets the initiative rolls, and some of your other characters are going to be better at talking about certain things.
Right.
So, if you're in that first area and you see those three, what are they, ogres or something, sitting around, save the game before you go talk to them.
I mean,
because there's...
It's wild how much this really seemed to be the runaway RPG of 2023 in a way that I think we'll get to it in a little bit. We were sort of expecting Starfield to be this, but yeah. Baldur's Gate 3 of everything was just like, yep, everybody's playing this 200-hour turn-based, party-based super RPG, and it makes me really happy that this team worked really hard for a really long time and just put out something that's incredible. And the only reason why I haven't played it is because I know I will put about 200 hours into it, and I cannot afford that time right now, and I really wish I could, because, man, this seems like a really cool game.
It's crazy to me that it's such a runaway hit when it's like whenever you get around to playing this game, Boston, you're going to be like, this is how do normal non-hardcore RPG people enjoy this game?
Right, how do like non-D&D fanatics love this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, well, and if you haven't played much D&D, you're probably going to be Googling some 5e rules.
Yeah, I've got a big learning like ramp to go under, because that's a lot of stuff, man.
Yeah, it's they packed that game full, and I'm excited to get back to it. I just haven't, because I'm, it's exactly like what you said with the 200-hour thing, except I'm going, well, I really want to play through all of Remedy's games right now, because I haven't played Alan Wake 2 yet, so, I got the Alan Wake remastered free through PS Plus at some point.
You got to go play Control and the Alan Wake DLC. Mm-hmm. You got to put all the connective stuff together.
And I've never played the Xbox one that I always forget the name of.
Quantum Break?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's a wild trip, too. Yep.
I have a friend who is a diehard fan of that game. And
oh, wow. Okay.
Good.
Oh
And he
man, it's
also feels like I should play American Nightmare, which I wasn't going to, but I don't know, maybe.
mm, yeah, I don't think I ever
Um,
played that.
yeah, I, I,
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't play any of the DLCs, and I hear one of the DLCs is pretty important to this. But
Oh,
uh,
okay.
anyway, I don't. Okay, so maybe Baldur's Gate in January. Now that I talked about
There you
all
go.
that, but
There you
um,
go.
but it's a super cool game. I'm glad it
Yeah.
exists, and I think it's phenomenal that it is a phenomenon. So,
Yeah.
uh, what's
Uh,
your
from
next?
from a next game here, one that we can both talk about, Diablo 4, which I
Oh yeah.
kind of keep forgetting came out this year. Um, as much of a fan I am of Diablo 3, I was really hoping this would scratch that same itch where I'm kind of going back to it every season and playing it for a little bit and kind of diving pretty deep into it every once in a while. And that just really hasn't happened, unfortunately. I think for me, Diablo 4 is solid, but after completing the campaign once, I was sort of like, yeah, I think I'm good for right now. It didn't scratch whatever itch I have for kind of Diablo style loot based games that when they grab me really hard, and this one for some reason really didn't, which I thought was a bummer. I don't know how about how you have if you've gone back to Diablo 4 or not this year.
Haven't. I think it was a few months ago the last time I played it.
Yeah.
And I need to beat it, and I just get put off so much by the different websites. I hadn't realized that like so much of the Diablo game culture was about beating the game as fast as possible for the various seasons, kind of on previous
Sure.
games.
Right.
Um, and for me, I just want to do like you guys listen to me how I play Skyrim and Cyberpunk and all that. Like I just want to do a bunch of side quests. So
Right.
kind of what I do in the game, and I can still do that and get in there. I just had to get out of my head on it, but
Yeah.
um, I don't know. It's fine. I enjoyed my time with it, and I'm sure at some point I will go back and attempt to beat it.
Mm.
But I just I am not the Blizzard fanatic that is gonna think all of their games are the best ever made
Right.
and all that. So I know those people are out there, and I'm glad they have that and feel that way. But I don't know. It was
Yeah.
fun. I enjoyed being a whatever I was, a berserker. Is that a thing?
Right.
Barbarian.
Right. Right. I hope it because I felt like this when Diablo 3 launched, where I finished that and I was like, okay, I think I'm pretty good. Like I don't really need to come back to this anytime soon. And once season started really in Diablo 3, once season started really getting underway, that's when it really kind of grabbed hold of me. And I hope it does the same. Like I hope Blizzard can get there with Diablo 4 as well. I'm the same with you. I feel like launching this game launching this game's first season so quickly after release, I think put a bit of a sour note for me. It's sort of like, well, of course I want to see all the cool seasonal stuff, but when Diablo 3 season started, I was excited to play Diablo 3 again because I hadn't played it in a while because I had finished it and I put it down. For Diablo 4, starting a new season was sort of like, oh, yeah, I got to play Diablo 4 again. I just did that. So okay. There was a little like, yeah, I'll play Diablo 3 again, sure, but there hadn't been enough time personally for me. So we'll see. We'll see Diablo 4. What's your next title here?
Yeah, I lost track there for a second. It's like, oh, it's your turn again. Oh no, it's not. Um, well, let's do it. Let's talk about Starfield.
Sure.
That is uh I have a lot of mixed feelings about Starfield, and I
Ditto.
meant to go back and play it a little bit this week to kind of refresh myself and remind me what I did like about it. The what is there? Um, like I really enjoyed the Free Star Rangers quest. I really
Hmm.
enjoyed a lot of the parts of Neon I played. It's just a game riddled with a lot of faults, but also it's
Yeah.
really easy just to be super overpowered in that game most of the time, which I appreciate from a game riddled with faults.
Right. It's
Um,
true.
I really like the spaceship makers. It's fun
Yeah.
seeing everyone with mods do stuff with it. Uh, I hope they bring mods to consoles, and they introduce some mods that let us go beyond whatever size bounds they've given us on starships.
Right.
And I'd really like to see, like, they have this great setup for like a Firefly type situation where you have your family of friends in the spaceship.
Mm.
Um, I'd really like to see them make more use of that, like
Yeah.
seeing the people put out mods that give them more habits, or this character's gonna make us dinner every day, or
Mm.
whenever you fast travel, you can have random encounters on the fast travel, or like give you an actual like make it more of a sim than it is.
Yeah.
Uh, I guess what I'm ultimately saying. But I enjoyed the I don't know probably 30 or 40 hours I spent with it, and I will probably go back and play more at some point.
Yeah. I. This is a tough one because this is one I sort of purposely dropped as I was getting to the end of the Crimson Fleet quest, and that was my fourth quest. I just really kind of wasn't having fun with it anymore. It really wasn't doing it for me, and I think the thing that Starfield is an okay game. Like it's not foundationally broken. Like the shooting is actually fairly solid, which I wasn't really expecting from Bethesda, to be pretty blunt about it. Um, and like a lot of the story stuff that's there is pretty good. I I really miss the exploration and discovery stuff from something like an Elder Scrolls or a Fallout, where you're walking, you're hoofing it from point A to point B, and you're just discovering stuff in between, even if it's just like, here's a building that had a treasure chest in it that is really well locked, and what happened in here, or you run across a quest line, or you run across something, just anything, and that level of stumbling on stuff didn't really exist in Starfield. You could fly from point A to point B, but the game sort of went out of its way to encourage you not to. It really wanted you to fast travel, and I think for me that kind of didn't ruin it, but I missed having that kind of wandering around exploration feeling of it, especially when you're out in space. Like that's the stuff that I love about like discovering new frontiers and finding new planets, and oh, what's this cool galaxy or whatever. And just didn't. That's all that stuff was really missing, and I think for me that hurt my enjoyment of it a lot.
Yeah.
So
I was reading an article on it a few months ago. I guess one of the programmers or someone who didn't work there anymore, but who was there for kind of the inception of the game, was kind of talking. He's like, "Yeah, no, the world count was just a random number like Todd Howard came up with or something, just as a
sure,
marketing point, and then everyone kind of ran with it because at one point they were talking about, well, let's just do a smaller galaxy with a dozen planets and really detail them out, and
right,
um, they kind of went away from that with the larger number.
right,
So hopefully they've. My hope is if they do a sequel, they've already developed whatever tech they've used for this. Maybe they hunker down on making it a little bit more immersive and just concentrate on a couple galaxies.
yeah. I could see how that could be really, really strong. Like kind of change the focus of the game to be a little bit different, but still kind of have
Yeah,
a strong game there. Yeah.
like
So
Obsidian's. I forgot what the name of the game is now, but the one Obsidian did with
New
the
Vegas.
corporation. Yeah, no, no,
Yeah.
no. What was it? The Space Corporation one.
Oh,
Um,
Outer Worlds.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I feel like that game was oddly enough hard for me to go back to because it's so fetch quest intensive.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think that galaxy was about the right size.
I
The
agree. Yeah.
four or
Yeah.
five planets, like, and they were fairly small, and I feel like a Bethesda level of that would be you'd get your 4 or 5 planets and they'd be fairly large and
Hmm.
have things you can stumble on. Like one of my favorite Firefly episodes is like the last of that that one season they did where they're just floating in space and bounty hunter just freaking sneaks aboard the ship.
Oh yeah,
Like why can't something weird and fun like that happen in
right.
Starfield?
Yeah,
Let me craft my own story kind of thing. And I feel like they fell away from that. But it's
yeah.
a you know what, it's a great game and I'm complaining about something that I paid $30 to play a couple days early on
Right.
Xbox that otherwise I would have just gotten to play for free because I have Game Pass. So
Yeah,
uh,
it's definitely one of those games where I see why so many people like it, and I'm not trying to be contrarian or anything. Um, but and I certainly don't blame anyone for liking it and spending a ton of time in it. It's just one of those ones where I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna push myself to finish this. I'm kind of done with it. So
yeah.
yeah. My next game here is probably pretty much a polar opposite. Eternites. This is the solo developed Persona 3 game that came out
Oh
this
yeah.
year. Um, it just came out actually physically too, so it's available digitally and physically. Um, it's a really wild thing. It's a very clearly small budget game. I don't want to call it a low budget game because I feel like that term has some baggage with it. But the developer does a ton of really creative stuff with a very small budget here. Um, and it's really wild to play a game that's just Persona 3. It has your relationships, it has, hey, it's the end of the day, you can go train or you can go explore the city with one of um, your confidants here, or but you can only really do one, and you have X number of days to finish this dungeon, and you can't uh, heal your SP in a dungeon. And when you run out of it, you just have to go back to HQ and rest up for the day, and it'll refill overnight. So there are no like SP refilling items or anything like that. Um, and it has a really cool, surprisingly very fun hack and slash combat system. It's mostly revolving around kind of doing almost Bayonetta dodging. You dodge at the right time, and you do that kind of like slow down, witch time sort of thing. It's cool. I haven't finished it yet. I think I'm about halfway through, I believe. It's not a super long game. Probably take you about 10 hours for the entire thing. Um, but it's cool. It's a very unique thing, and it's nice to see a solo dev kind of make their passion project and nail it, which is pretty cool. So, Eternites, highly recommend checking it out. I think it's only 30-40 bucks, something like that. It's not a full price game either, so it's pretty neat.
It's on
Uh,
sale for $20 right now
Dang,
on
that's
Steam.
cheap. There you go.
Yeah,
All
like
right. Well, go ahead.
I should say the top 10 list on my Steam for my wish list, I'm realizing are like almost all games you've been playing.
Hey, there you go. All right, what's
Uh,
your next game here on your list?
Symphony of War.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I still really like this game. And I want to say faults and all, but the more I think about it, the more I don't necessarily know that they're faults. I think they executed what they wanted to execute. Um, and any issue I take with it is just a disagreement over an enjoyable story or not. But like the gameplay is so much fun. Most of the main cast is a lot of fun. If you like, hey, we're gonna do a tactics grid, and each unit is gonna be comprised of possibly up to like 12 units. When you get high
Hmm.
enough level, and you can mess with different battle compositions and level troops up and down. And it's very forgiving on the resource allotment. When you level them down, it refunds you that stuff. Um, it is just a fantastic game, and they made a DLC, which admittingly I'm only a few missions into, but it gives you more of that game, more characters, and more classes.
Nice.
So it's it's usually pretty cheap, uh, but I feel like it's a no-brainer, and I really hope it comes to more platforms because I feel
Yeah,
like it could really find a home on like PlayStation and Switch and Xbox and all that.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but
Fingers crossed.
yeah, that's about all I got to say there. What's your next one?
My next game is Ghostwire Tokyo. Uh,
Yeah,
we played for Game Club this year, a game I went in fully prepared to hate and came out really loving. Also, didn't expect it to be as much of an RPG as it was, but this is the first person spell slinging kind of modern day Tokyo RPG that I had a blast with. I didn't play any of the I didn't play as much of the side stuff as you and Moon did. Sort of unfortunately, because a lot of that stuff seemed really cool. But we played that for Game Club. I'll have to look up what episode of Game Club this was. We played that episode 107. There you go. So we played that. And I don't know, man. I had a real blast with this. I think you really enjoyed this too, right?
yeah, it's on my list too. I love this game. I need to go back to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't finish it. I just got so distracted with side quests. But like, we had all done a different handful of side quests. It seems like,
Right, right.
Uh, but they really have the formula for this game down, like with the traversal powers and how good a
Hmm.
lot of the spells and effects go, and like some of the side quests are just insanely humorous. Like, oh, this ghost needs toilet paper.
Right, right. Or you're finding all the tanuki, so you kind of like turn a corner and a vending machine has a raccoon tail coming out of it. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I also love any like piece of media that can give me kind of a glimpse into the imagination of another culture I'm not as familiar with,
Hmm.
which has always been part of my love for like the Persona and Shimigami Tensei series, and this
Mm.
does that like tenfold, like honestly a lot of in terms of learning about yokai and the different spirits, that this game does a better job than
Mm.
than Persona, but
Yeah.
I adore this game, and I think everyone should give it a try.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know how much I have to say to this other than it's free on PS Plus still, I think. I think it still might be on Game Pass. If not, it's usually pretty cheap. It's really well worth your time. It's a fantastic game.
Um,
What is your next game?
Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores.
Oh yeah.
So this gave me more Horizon, and it's I've had this weird trend with our podcast this year where I'll play the beginning of something, get on the podcast and talk about it and be like, well, that's weird that they did that. I don't want to put up with that the whole game. Blah, blah, blah,
Right.
blah. I'm upset. And then they immediately solve it. And I'm feeling like, I got a month before I have this complaint
Right.
I made. This DLC was a lot of fun. They uh, they touch back to an NPC on the first game. You get introduced to a gosh, I don't want to. I feel like they advertised that there was a possible love interest in there, so hopefully that's not a spoiler to anyone.
Mm,
But
right.
um, they make a lot of use of the flying ability.
Mm,
Um, it's it's more Horizon Forbidden West, and this game is still fantastic. Um, you get a lot more conversations with people. The island area, I feel like, it's not very big, but it's concise and it gives you um, a lot of variation in geography. Like you have some lava areas and some waterfall areas, and the big final staging area is maybe a little too on the nose, but I loved it. I don't want to spoil it for you specifically, Boston, in the hopes that
right.
you will play it one day. Um,
I bought it. You know, we if anyone hasn't listened to some of our episodes this year, we both had a very similar confusing experience getting this to install and get installed correctly. That I think a lot of the wind came out of my sails where it's like, all right, now I finally have it installed after a couple of hours. All right, I'm done.
And I hate to say it, I think it's on Sony. Like, I think because I had to
Yeah,
do it on Cyberpunk, where I had to go to manage content, install the DLC I just bought. I couldn't do
yeah,
it
get it
directly
all
from the
wired up.
store.
Yeah,
It's it's
I'll get
weird.
back
Now,
to it someday, especially because it's only a couple of hours long, and I know for sure I'll pick up the next Horizon game, and I'm sure this has some sort of connective tissue between Forbidden West and then whatever the eventual third Horizon game will be. So I want to make sure that I have all that kind of backstory and connective stuff there. Yeah.
absolutely. Oh, right, and you got to see all the Lance Riddick stuff that they added. So,
Oh yeah, that's true. Yep, yep, yep. Yeah.
so uh,
Uh, my next game here is Remnant from the Ashes. This is that third-person shooter, randomized. Uh, I guess Souls. I guess Souls like kind of. I guess it's a very strange game to try and explain, but I played it with friends of the show, Bill Sivert and the Hannah. We played it three-player the whole way through. That was just a blast. I'm sure it's good single player, but this seems like a game that's really built for co-op. Had a bunch of really tough bosses that felt really great. Uh, Finally beating. Um, I we only played it once. We never really got into the kind of keep playing it again to get more loot or get like higher quality loot or anything like that. Um, but I really had a blast. I think we picked it up either for free or like $5, like it's usually on sale for. And unfortunately, I haven't played the second one yet because that's like $70, and asking three people to spend $70 all at once for a game that we're hoping is good is kind of a lot. Um, but Remnant is cool. I don't know how much I can talk about it because a lot of it is just like randomized dungeon crawling, third person shooting, upgrading your weapons and getting skills and stuff. But the stuff that was there, I thought was really cool, and I thought it was a cool, neat, fun co op game that we played for like 2 months or so every week. So that was a lot of fun. I liked that a lot.
great.
Whoop, go ahead.
Oh, that's all I was saying. It was a great game. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna. It's been a year or two since I played it, but
yeah.
you know.
What's your next game here?
So this is the last one on my list,
Okay,
and it is Cyberpunk 2077, specifically the Phantom Liberty DLC.
right.
Um, the DLC is better than the main game. Like, I
Nice.
am shocked how much better it is at the main game. Like, the main game goes from being like pretty good in my book to like, oh, this is a great game that I'm going to replay every once in a while, and chances are I'm just going to quit playing the game after beating the DLC because the DLC's highs and lows are so far above and beyond the main campaign's highs and lows. Like
Hmm.
it's kind of a boring playthrough afterwards. Like
Oh,
Idris
sure.
Elba does a fantastic job as his character. Um, I mean, like he would do. I mean, he's a great actor. Like he was going to do anything else.
Yeah.
But gosh, they do. Like so, the DLC starts out with kind of a 2 hour action sequence that is really crazy. And as you go in and you get into Dogtown, they just everything is just head and shoulders better above the main game. So the main
Hmm.
game, you'd have your yellow quests uh, and your green quests. The greens are the gigs, and the yellows are I don't remember missions or something.
Kind of
And
like the main story missions.
um, yeah, well, the main story missions are also yellow, but they have
Oh,
other
okay.
like it's a weird like okay, I'm going to go to this yellow dot and engage in a short kind of story gameplay thing, and then you go to a green dot, and that could be anywhere from, hey, run in here and shoot everyone, or hey, you got to go talk to people. Like it varied pretty wildly on its
Gotcha.
like production value. And on in Phantom Liberty, like all of those missions are really fleshed out. Whereas before they relied a lot on you finding journals on dead bodies, and or I'm sorry, not journals, shards is what they call them, on dead bodies to kind of figure out what had happened and why it had happened. In Phantom Liberty, you go like your fixer's like, here's what I know of the situation. Go talk to these people, and you'll go talk to those people and be presented something, and then you'll go do the mission, and then find out, oh, they weren't telling me the whole truth.
Oh, sure.
Which is everything in Cyberpunk. But uh,
That's always the name of the game in cyberpunk stuff.
yes, it's the where's the moral gray? Because if you
Right.
aren't seeing the moral gray, then you have not seen the whole story.
Yep.
Um, but like, they're all multi-stage steps with like voice acted characters, and it's just way higher end and so much fun. They have a lot of crazy stories in just even the main campaign of the main deal. Like you have a you effectively have a what's the word? I don't want to get the people who are fans of heist movies too excited because it's not precisely that, but there are
Right.
notes of a heist movie campaign at one point in the game.
Oh, okay.
Um, the and you know the whole thing's everything in Cyberpunk is devastating. Like, don't go into that game thinking you're going to get a happy ending, whichever direction you
Right.
go.
It's definitely not a blue sky game.
Yeah, but it's gosh, it's a blast, and it's the DLC does ask you to maybe extend what you're willing to believe, like at first, because
Hmm.
uh, yeah, okay, I won't give it away. Like I went in blind, I didn't know what I was getting into, and I'm sure it's in the trailers for it in terms of who you were initially rescuing. But when I found that out, I was like, I don't
What
know
about
about
this?
this. I think they're. I'll go with it, but this feels a little camp. But they did well with it,
Right.
and all the characters are great. And I wish there were more of them in there. And on top of that, like, so you can't play Phantom Liberty until you're probably about halfway through the game, maybe a little bit further.
Oh, okay.
They have an option at the beginning to skip the first half of the game. I think the first half of Cyberpunk is way stronger than the second half,
Mm.
and you will get a lot more weapons and level up points and things like that if you just play through it. So I'm
Oh,
of the
okay.
opinion that even if you've played Cyberpunk before, you should just start a new character and play up to where you can access Phantom Liberty, which is around. Um, Gosh, what was that story beat? You will have had to have met Rogue at least by then. Like, it's pretty far into the game. And
Okay.
granted, if you just do the main campaign missions, you can get there pretty quick. But um, and the old game probably isn't different enough that you're gonna notice anything. But the skill tree is completely different now, so
Right.
you got to get used to that. But yeah, and this, like, what's on the screen right now, if you're watching the video, is from that first 2 hour section of the game. Um, that thing is a pain in the butt to fight, but it's good. I like. Okay, here's a comparison. If any of you have played, oh no, what was the name called? The Star Wars game with the stormtroopers that came out like 15 years ago, Republic Commando.
Yes.
Um, Republic Commando had certain moments back then where you would get to the end of a fight and you would feel like you accomplished something because you
Yeah.
just mowed down so many guys trying to protect stuff and using every resource at hand. And this DLC has moments like that in it.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
it is it really kind of refocuses Cyberpunk as a combat game, and Cyberpunk really does shine on its combat, which isn't readily obvious because everything's kind of pitched towards hacking and sneaking and whatnot, and
Mm.
Uh, but their combat's super fun in this. Now, granted, some of the writing in terms of like the morality of killing, um, that stuff is going to be kind of, I don't know, wonky in comparison to your actions in the game.
Oh,
Um,
sure.
like you'll get through murdering a bunch of people, the next thing you know, V will be screaming at someone for considering murdering somewhere else. You're like, well, but
Right.
um, I guess it just depends how you play it. And sometimes they get the reactions right. I think they just, as writers, they weren't sure what they were doing with that, and it kind of shows. But
Mm.
um, anyway, so long story short, get Cyberpunk and the DLC. Don't let your kids watch it.
Right. Very immature
and
rated, yes.
yes,
Yeah.
uh, but it is absolutely fantastic. I adore that game.
Yeah. I have two quick ones here to wrap up my list. First one is Theorhythm Theorhythm Final Bar Line. I'm tripped up because it has 700 Final Fantasy tracks or however many it is in there. Wanted to mention this because it is sort of Square Enix RPG adjacent, but I've been playing this pretty consistently all year, and just finally got through all of the tracks in the game. I think I've 600 something now, which is quite frankly astounding. It captures all of the Final Fantasy games, kind of mainline and spin-off, and then a whole bunch of other Square Enix games, including a bunch of DLC stuff. Um, it's really great. It has a bunch of, and it's really smart for having a ton of accessibility options. There's a bunch of different difficulties. There's even a simple mode where you only have to really hit one button at a time, either hit or hold one button at a time. So it kind of simplifies the entire game if that's something that your timing or your dexterity or something really needs. And I highly recommend checking out this demo. There's a demo on PS4 and Switch, if I remember correctly. I think those are the only platforms this came out on. And it will give you a really good sampling of the game. I think it's like 10 tracks or something, and your progress will carry over into the game. Theater and Final Bar Line, really great. DLC is still coming out for this. They just put out a patch or a pack for Final Fantasy 16 that had like 15 tracks in it or something. So that was pretty nice to see, and a lot of the stuff they've put out has been really great. So 2 thumbs up. Last game here is a game that I've been playing a whole ton of this year is Yakuza Like a Dragon. I, for some reason, have been putting off playing this for quite a while. I'm not entirely sure why, but I think I really needed to play a RPG, and I thought, yeah, let me get back into the Yakuza games, because I really loved 0 and Kiwami 1, and I liked the idea of Yakuza Like a Dragon kind of not restarting, but kind of giving you a new protagonist in Kasuga here, and kind of until now sort of taking a different path through the Yakuza series. What I really didn't realize was that this game, the main character Kasuga really loves Dragon Quest, and everything in the game is kind of has a tint of Dragon Quest. Even when you get a new party member, it pops up the Dragon Quest like window, like this person has joined your party, and it has the MIDI song that plays for Dragon Quest stuff. Whenever you run into like Yakuza thugs around town, they transform into RPG villains all the time. The main character's goal in life is to become the hero from Dragon Quest. That's just, and his class in the game is hero. Like all of it, they take the stuff that the Yakuza games do really well, which is this like, I'm saying this positively, this like overwrought dramatic Yakuza story combined with the really wacky side stories and the side quests and the mini games and stuff. And then they take it and they move it from that beat 'em up that beat 'em up RPG that the other Yakuza games were, and it turns into a turn-based RPG, which I think they managed to translate this game into a turn-based RPG. I think really well. It still has the soul of that kind of hand-to-hand kind of beat 'em up RPG stuff that the previous Yakuza games were, but I think they do a really, really great job with this. And I had heard people say, yeah, this is a really good turn-based RPG, but I maybe wasn't necessarily sure I believed them because it was such a wild swing for the series. But I've been having a blast with it. I think I'm a little over 2/3 of the way through the game, and I've been talking to my friend Bill Savert about. He's been playing the Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name, which is the game that bridges this game and the Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. And he said that that's really good too. So I will probably roll right from this one straight into another game, and then probably straight into Infinite Wealth as well, because that comes out in, I think, February, if I remember. So I haven't played a ton of RPGs this year, but or at least ones that I've stuck with. I guess contrary to the list we just talked about. But it's nice to play a turn-based RPG that I am really clicking with, because as we've talked about, I maybe haven't stuck with most turn-based RPGs this year. So that's Yakuza Like a Dragon. Still really enjoying it. Still really great. I think it's on PS Plus and Game Pass right now, if I remember correctly. So you probably already own it on some sort of platform. If not, it's pretty cheap at this point. So, but yeah, I think that's all our RPGs this year. We had a great year for RPGs, and we didn't even play maybe not even a quarter of the RPGs that came out in 2023. It was an incredible year this year for RPGs in general, and missed pretty much everything that came out. Like, I really want to play the Super Mario RPG remake that looks pretty incredible, and I'm nowhere close to even picking that up. And it was a really great year for RPGs. How was your year for RPGs overall, you think?
I I think it was fantastic. I think there's more than I can financially afford or spend
Yep.
time on. Um, but I like some of the shorter ones we're getting, honestly.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to think of an example right now that said that. Definitely not Baldur's Gate or
Right. We
or
definitely have
Cyberpunk.
seen some shorter, especially indie RPGs coming out in the last couple of years that are um, a little bit of a shorter, more focused experience. I mean, even Chained Echoes was a bit shorter, but kind of packed every hour of gameplay with a ton of stuff. Um,
Yeah, or I guess Eterna Knights, that'd be a good example, right? Because
yeah,
that's a
yeah. Eternice was. I'm also trying to think of the one. Jack Move was on.
oh
Did that
yeah.
come out this year? Maybe I forgot to put that on my list. I didn't finish that either, but that was another kind of sub 10 hour, like kind of classic Genesis Mega Drive RPG that I had a lot of fun with. Um, so yeah, there was a ton of stuff. It'll be great because I always have a list. What do I call it in my thing? I said cool games I don't have time for but can't forget about. I have a list like that goes every year. 2023's list is a lot of RPGs, which is pretty exciting, and also exciting for this show, which means we'll probably have 50 more games to talk about this upcoming year, which hopefully you will all join us for. Musim, to round out the year, where can we find you online?
You can find me at my link tree at Li. I didn't have it pulled up. LINKTR. Is that right? Yeah, linktr.ee/John Musim, JOHNMUSIM, and that'll let you digitally track me however you want.
That's right. That's right. You can find all my shows over at tvgp.tv or e1m1.com. If you want to find me, campsite.bio/Jansten, Jansten. That brings you to all the shows I run and the Destiny Emblem Collector website I run and all the stuff, all the links are over there. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. We'll see you all next month. Bye.